Welcome to Meet Your Legislators Forum on the Oklahoma Legislature for its 2021 session. And so to offer an opportunity to communicate with our legislators, the Stillwater League of Women Voters and the Stillwater Public Library are co-hosting tonight's forum to highlight the priorities and major issues facing us in the coming session. I'm Allred, tonight's moderator with the League of Women Voters, and assisting this evening are Emily State, who is with the Stillwater Public Library, our technician, and Kay Murphy with the League of Women Voters. And with us this evening in alphabetical order are Representative Ty Burns, District 35, Senator Tom Duggar, District 20, Representative Trish Ranson, District 34, and Representative John Talley, District 33. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for being with us this evening. Format for this evening is first, we will hear from each of our legislators for about 5 minutes each, who will share their priorities, their committee appointments, and bills of interest that they have in the pipeline. And following that, we will share questions from those of you who have registered for this event and submitted. We'll hear from each of our legislators in alphabetical order. We want to see you, Representative Burns. You want to share with your priorities? And I think I read you have a new committee appointment, but
yes,
with you.
Yes, no, I do appreciate it, and for hosting tonight as well. And I just found out, a week or so ago that I was appointed the chairman of the Wildlife Committee on the House. So really glad to be chosen and appointed for that. It definitely is an honor. So we don't know what other committees we're on yet. Don't have all that out yet. Obviously, it's leadership's trying to get everything and move things around where people can best serve the state at. So don't know any other committees besides that, and chairman and vice chairman at this point. So other than that, pretty much, I don't know if you feel like going into some of my bills, or we're just going to do quick introductions, or however you want to do it.
Right, you can share bills that you may be proposing or interested in, and a priority for you.
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. And so obviously last year with the COVID cut and everything short, we're going to have bills that we're going to want passed and have to run all those back through the House. So there's a lot of good legislation that was put on the back burner last year because of COVID. So I've got 3, maybe 2. May cut it down to 2 just because I got other things that I need to do. But again, that's the county government and the county elected officials, some accountability and teeth on, some of the punishment and extra training and things to try and get some of our county government a little higher standard. So across the board, some of them weren't doing that. And so we want to try and get that done. Other, bills, the biggest thing that I could say that I'm proud of is Oklahoma Certified Beef. It just launched. I just went to the very first Oklahoma Certified Beef Association meeting down in Oklahoma City at the AFR, and I think that it's catching on. I think it's going to be really big for the ag community. The first steaks, an independent farmer, rancher, right? He sells beef. Sold the first state steaks, Oklahoma Certified Beef state steaks, and it went for over $2,000 for 2 ribeyes, and raised over $5,500 for the Food Foundation and beef sticks for the backpack for kids. So again, that's going really good for the state and ranchers, and being a rancher myself, I understand the importance of it. And so this will be a great new market for a lot of the ag people, and I'm super excited about that. But just have some cleanup bills on that, who has control and teeth over the definition if somebody violates it. So trying to put some protection clauses in there. I've got one that I'm kind of 501c3s or 501cs. The biggest thing that, frustrated me when I got passionate about this is, me being a veteran and, some of the bigger organizations that raise tons of money off of the graves of veterans, and who knows where it goes, if it's staying in the state of Oklahoma or what's going on with it. So I'm kind of running some of that to hold more accountability and transparency on the 501Cs, especially money leaving the state. You know, the stuff that stays in state is in state. That's what it was meant to do. So I just think when Oklahomans donate to a veterans cause, they think it's going to be spent on Oklahoma veterans. So not somebody in New York. And so we're just going to get some oversight and transparency on it. See, little guy's jumping in. So hold on, buddy. And other than that, you know, I've got a couple other bills that, you know, nothing crazy, just Purple Heart tags and different things to clean up some things and benefits. So other than that, it's been 2021's been good so far.
Yes, I guess everyone can hear okay. So move into the same categories that we had a minute ago, but I want to take a minute and say, the issues we're going to be faced with. And there we go. So I've had nothing but computer problems for today. So if you don't hear me, I'm going to claim that's my third computer day that working on that's decided it didn't want to play very well today. So there's several things. Let's talk about committee assignments and so forth like that, because those are important on how we can come back and help the citizens of Payne County. For me, it's all or the individual areas within that state bound or within the county bounds, which would be the city of Stillwater and the various cities and so forth like that. I'm in the one committee that sets all the budget and so forth, at least for the Senate. We have about 16 members in it, maybe 17, and it's the appropriations. So we'll be involved in that because basically we have a flat budget and maybe some changes that come about from that budget because we don't know what the federal government is going to do for sure and putting money into states and cities and so forth, that nature. But if that happens, that could change the budget. We budget, so they could have direct amounts of money come into their operation during the year. And we are yet to know about those, and hopefully that will happen because it could help us with our flat situation. As everybody knows, Oklahoma had a tough year, even though the Equalization Board has certified that we've got a little bit more money than what we had last year. It's still not enough to do all the things that we would like to do in the state of Oklahoma to benefit the citizens of Oklahoma. So appropriations obviously important there. Committee that Ty and I will see each other, Ag and Wildlife Committee, and we'll be working together on during this period. And so I'm looking forward to that. And one that'll be a little bit of fun, but a lot of tourism type things will happen, and I think that'll be good for the state of Oklahoma. Education is always a major issue. That's K through 12 as well as higher education. If you put all those together, we have roughly 52% of the entire state budget going into education. That won't change, not in my opinion. If anything, it'll go up a little bit. But as I said, it's all flat in there. Last year, we had to take a number of agencies, and they all took roughly a 4% cut, except for education. I look for something very similar in this year's budget. General government, which is working with the county commissioners and so forth. It's always good to work with them. People, representatives, you've got John and Trish and Ty and myself in the Senate. All of us from time to time have opportunities to do things within the mental sector that benefits the state, but we try to always be cognizant of the fact that they run their own show too. So we try to give them money in such a way that we don't make those final decisions. A lot of times it's things that the governmental group wants to, and so we'll be allocating funds a little bit in those particular areas. Select agency is one that I actually chair. By the way, on general government, I'm the vice chair in the Senate. I am the chair for select agencies, and everybody says, what? Well, what is 67 agencies this year that do not get an appropriation, but get their money from licenses and things like that? We have oversight responsibility on all of those, and we'll be doing those. We did our very first one for this session was the abstract board. We did that one yesterday and be written up as a policy, and that doesn't mean that we're cutting someone's budget necessarily. Our recommendation to the leadership and the various committees that it affects this year is that we believe that they need to be a digitized type thing for the benefit of Oklahoma citizens, that they can do everything online, that they have lots of paperwork in the abstract group right now, and they've got about 10 years that they haven't been able to get that done, and they've got the money to do it and the desire and the capability to do it. And so that's going to be one that we are recommended to leadership from the select agencies. There's a bunch of them in there. Some of them are very important as you deal with the city of Stillwater. For instance, we get our water supply and electricity supply primarily. Electricity supply, and I misspoke there, we don't get our water that way. It comes out of Ponca City. We do, however, buy electricity from GRDA. GRDA is one of the entities, one of the agencies that my committee has oversight on expenditures and so forth. So we'll be involved in anything that GRDA does this next year. We have certain things. We used to have the Turnpike Authority. Is that a time limitation? Okay. We'll do more as I have other time down through there, because I've got 2 or 3 things that I still want to bring up to you. So I'll stop and we'll go there from there.
Thank you very much, Senator Duggar. And now, Representative Ranson, would you like to share with us your priorities and any bills you have in the hopper?
Yes. Thank you
Okay.
very much. I appreciate the time tonight to be with you. Thank you for putting this on. I'm Trish Ranson, representative for House District 34, which is the heart of Stillwater. And I am a former educator, so obviously education is at the top of my priority list. My caucus, I am part of the Democratic caucus, which is the minority caucus in the state capitol. And we have an ed policy group that we come together and we work together as a team to put forth ideas and bills going forward. First off, though, my top priority is we need to clean house, and we need to make sure that our rules are in order, that we can safely do the state's business. And organizational meeting last week, there was no mask mandate that was put into place. And so the fact that we have a conversation, that's how we do our jobs. I think a mask mandate is the least obstructive thing that can happen. It can be help for ourselves, protection for ourselves, but also for our districts across the state and our families. So we need to get that set up, and I'm hoping that leadership is having something going on right now as far as deciding what that's going to be going forward. I have top of the list is going to be finding funding for Medicaid in conjunction with our budget. And I think a third thing that we've got to be looking at is the deficits that the COVID-19 has brought to light, and how are we going to address those, especially the rural and urban divide. We have definitely seen the deficits as far as death rates are higher in our rural areas than they are in our urban areas. And it's because of our lack of access to healthcare in our rural areas. So we need to make sure that that is something that we address, as well as broadband expansion. I've been meeting with the Broadband Coalition and for several months now, and talking with Representative Logan Phillips, who is planning on legislation this session, of how we can best get that expansion to happen. And because that is something that we need, not just for school, but also for health and also for business. So we need to make sure that that is a priority going forward. As far as bills are concerned, I have bills that from last session that I'm going to submit. The Traumatic Brain Injury Advisory Council bill. This is one that got caught up with the coronavirus. I think this is a good time to do it because we're expanding Medicaid, and the advisory council is part of the piece that we need to get federal funding. So I think this would be a great time to do that. I also have the de-escalation training for teachers so that way the districts can offer it, but it doesn't require the teachers to take it. I don't want to make sure, I don't want to add anything to the teachers as for their professional development, but I do want the districts to be able to offer it to the teachers because I think this is something that really could be beneficial, especially post-pandemic with school going forward. I have a bill that is always controversial, but I'm bringing it forward this time, which is to end straight party voting. You can vote straight party, but vote for each person on the ballot rather than just marking your party at the top of the ballot. So that is something that I want to put forward. I've heard a lot of constituents say that that is something that they do not like. I do know that majority party likes it, no matter who the majority party is. So just going forward, making sure that we can get that done. I'm also meeting with some cyber security group and working on updating the Computer Crimes Act. I've got amending the Open Meetings Act so that virtual is part of the definition for attendance in person. Also, Floor Leader Eccles is putting forth a bill as well. So I'm already talking with him about how best to go forward with that so that our boards and our councils can meet even in the midst of pandemic. And then trying to solidify funding for OSU early childhood. I'm working with Representative Rosecrans at OU. They have an early childhood center there, as well as we have one here in Stillwater, and making sure that that facility is funded, not only just for the children, but also the fact that that is a training ground for our teachers. And so I want to make sure that that funding is solidified. So
Okay.
Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Ranson. And now we'll hear from Representative Talley. What are your plans and bills for the coming year session? You're muted. You want to unmute yourself? Can you unmute him?
I'm not too good with computers and I pressed the wrong button. Thank you for
Okay.
doing this and hello tonight. Yes, I have several bills. I have 2 common ed bills and we can go into and I can answer any questions. I have a healthcare bill. A lot of us co-author things with other representatives because they're already doing the work, and so there's no use to me, I don't think, of having a bill that you already know someone else is doing. Why not just help them? So like a new representative we have, Dick Lowe, I'm working with him on a technology center bill. I'm working with Denise Brewer on right now, if you're 12 and younger and you've been sexually abused, you can use a video in a court of law. We're going to try to change that to 18-year-olds. And I would say the 2 that I'm really working on, would like to see passed, is the daycare center in Stillwater got closed. It was a family said that the daycare wasn't doing the right thing. Right now, there's a 30-day period that the daycare center will be heard in court, and that's too long. Almost everybody goes out of business. So I want to change that to a 3-day waiting period, no more than 3-day waiting period, so that if they're not doing anything wrong, they can stay in business. Right now in Oklahoma, opioids are very much controlled, which they should be. But there are also people that need opioids because of all kinds of problems. And so we're trying to tweak that law because of constituents asking me to do it. So that's about all.
Okay, well, thank you, Representative Talley. Well, it sounds as though it's going to be an interesting session coming up, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you. But at this time, we're going to ask questions from people who registered for this event. And each one of you can answer every question, or you can choose to pass. But we're not singling out one person. Every question you may all answer.
Okay.
Okay. The first question is uh, legislation to be considered at the upcoming session. Joint Resolution 4 would require at least 60% of the statewide votes in order to pass constitutional amendments. So, what is your view on this proposed change and why? Who would you like to start with? I mean, we can go in reverse alphabetical order, or you can choose to jump out. Would somebody like to answer that first?
I'll jump in. I think
Okay.
that, I think the change to that is troublesome. The way the Constitution in our state is written, there is a way for the people to circumvent the legislature if the legislature is not attending to the issues that the people believe is important. And so that is why we have the questions. I think the issue that we have here is that a lot of the issues that the people are wanting covered are not getting dealt with in the legislature. And so that is their avenue to do so. By adding the percentage, I think we get in the way of the people. And I don't think that that's wise.
Okay. Well, thank you, Representative Ranson. Anyone else want to respond? Senator Duggar? You're muted. You want to unmute yourself.
While we're waiting on Tom, Senator Duggar, read the question again.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, it is. It's Joint Resolution 4 would require at least 60% of the statewide vote in order to pass a constitutional amendment instead of 50%. I think that's what it is now. 60%. That's what it would require. Filed by Senator John Haste. Okay.
If is Tom, can you not get in? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is to change the Constitution. It shouldn't be easy. And so I think we do need to strengthen it. What those numbers look like and how we do it, I know is going to be the big issue. And I think a lot of things are on the table right now for that. So I think it needs to be strengthened, and it protects some of the rural voice. We got 3 or 4 different counties in the whole state dictating legislation and big constitutional things. And it's done and passed by, not the majority of counties. So it gives the rural area some voice as well. And so we definitely got to look at it. I do believe that it shouldn't be that easy to change the Constitution. So.
Okay. Senator Duggar, yeah.
Okay. Ty did a really good
Tom,
There
we
we go.
can't hear you.
All right, try this
Okay.
again. First off, Ty Burns did a great job just then of kind of explaining the big part of this is that we got to be really cognizant of the fact that, and very much aware that of the unintended consequences that may come about because of the change of a constitutional item. It's our responsibility. It's to go down there and figure out the right things, and that's where we can use the public's input to give us information on that. Doesn't mean that every single bill needs to go to a constitutional amendment. It can be done by visiting with and working with your representatives in Senate. And so I think that's probably the thing that's most important there.
Okay, thank you, Senator Duggar. Representative Talley, you want to unmute yourself? Did you want to respond to that?
Well, I don't like that resolution. I like more what Ty is trying to do. But Trish is right. If we listened to people and got things passed, it wouldn't have to go to a constitutional amendment and go into the Constitution. It could just be a law. And so how do we do that? That's the real question.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, the next question is, what is your view of the plan to outsource the Medicaid administration?
And I'll be glad to start with that one.
Okay, Senator Duggar.
Managed health care is what we're talking about, and it's talking about having a third party outside of the state. The hospitals and everybody else has stepped up in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's cost compared to Medicaid in many other states is much better off than our fellow states. As a result of that, the Oklahoma Health Authority has the ability and the drive and the understanding to have as efficient as possible cost in Medicaid. I think there will be several things that go into Medicaid and to make on our initial deposit. And ultimately, because we can have control of it and move when it's necessary to move positively to provide care for the people at the lowest cost possible for the states, I'm not a managed care proponent.
You are not?
I
Is that
am
what
not.
Not okay. Who else would like to? Representative Ranson, you want to respond to that, and we'll just go on up.
Absolutely. I don't like the idea of managed care in the sense that it goes to a company outside of our state. So we don't keep that money, that tax money here in the state. And oftentimes they can get up to 10% administration fee cost. So if you want to make more money, then you charge more so that you get more of a cut. And that has been happening in other states. And we do not need to do that. We have healthcare authority that they can manage this for like a 3% administration fee. And I think that's a much better use of our money. Now, I will also say that, we've got a really great network of pharmacists here in our state, and they've got a program that is working for them. This would completely change them, and they would have to do all new, which is, again, not the end of the world, but at the same time, if it's working, why try to fix it? So I think we can do this in-house, and that I would prefer that.
Okay, thank you, Representative Ranson. Representative, Talley, would you like to?
Yeah, I saw Ty walk out for a second. The only thing I would add to what Trish said is that Tuner Care is already being managed by the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority and doing a pretty good job. So I just see them picking it up and running with it. I don't know why we would have to go out of state.
Okay, thank you. And Representative Burns, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, no, again, it's a diverse situation for sure. And there's a lot of things on the table that people are going back and forth. Definitely, the biggest thing to keep in mind is we got to compromise somewhere. As long as we get something done that's going to benefit the Oklahomans and their health. Somebody's going to have to give, somebody's going to have to take, and that's just the way the world works on things. And so we're going to do the best we can and figure it out and push it forward for healthcare. But again, there's a lot of things going on back and forth, and where it lands is going to be definitely a process that's vetted completely. So hopefully to do the best for Oklahomans. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question. It's a tough one. With terrorist threats to our state capital, what safeguards need to be implemented to protect our Oklahoma Capitol legislators, staff against terrorists? Okay, Senator Duggar. Oh yeah, you unmute. Yeah,
there we go.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. It's interesting, that particular question, because it's come up from both the House and from the Senate. All of the senators, all of the representatives got a notice the other day that this weekend, they do not encourage us to be at the office at all. We have enough capability of being able to do things remotely and so forth, that business will continue. And of course, that's this weekend. We are protected at the present time by the deployment of Troop K, which is the Highway Patrol, a lot of senior members of the Highway Patrol at guard stations and so forth. With the renovation to the Capitol, everybody goes through metal detectors and a review visually by the Highway Patrol who man those particular stations. We have a lot of very professionals. We also, both the House and the Senate, have 2 or 3 people, including their red coats and green coats, basically the administrative group of the state for security and so forth. That's very important. They've aligned themselves in such a way that we believe that there's adequate security for all the members, as well as people that coming into the Capitol. I know that at the present time, I've seen a couple of times that people got stopped and asked questions specifically because they were carrying something in their hands, a big box or something of that nature. And the process has worked through this past year and has gotten better. It will be emphasized even more with additional deployment out of Troop K for this next couple of weeks.
Oh, well, thank you, Senator Duggar. Anyone else want to respond to that? You all can welcome to respond. Representative Ranson?
I think it is challenging. The first thing that I saw when I saw on the national news was the fact that, where are those spots? Where do we shelter in place? I mean, as the teacher who has done millions practically of drills, where do we go? And so that's something that my caucus has brought forward to leadership of, we need to make sure that we are understanding what the safety plan is from the Highway Patrol in case there should be some sort of violence in the Capitol. But it is a very tricky situation because Oklahoma is a constitutional carry state, and that adds to the issue as well.
Okay. Representative Burns, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Again, the biggest thing is Oklahomans have led the way in a lot of different things. So this weekend, again, I think it's, if anything, it does happen, and I hope and pray everything's going to be safe because, again, we've done things right in Oklahoma and not let things get out of hand. So whether you do or don't do anything at that point, I think we're still going to do the right things as Oklahomans. And the biggest thing, protection of the Capitol. Talking to a military guy and a law enforcement guy and everything in me, the best way for anybody to defend themselves is to have a weapon on them at all times. You talk about legislators and not being able to carry guns in the Capitol. And at this point, should it be something we should talk about? I guarantee it's going to come up because, again, protection of self. I'd rather defend myself than depend on somebody to defend me, right, when they're not there. So things are going to come up, but again, we're going to do things right. And I think Oklahoma, we're going to be good.
Okay, thank you, Representative Burns. Representative Talley, do you want to respond to that?
All I would say is I have talked to, know the Highway Patrol that are in the Capitol, and I know Charles, the Sergeant of Arms, and how safe he tries to make it. I feel very safe in the Capitol, but it would be nice to know if there was some place that we were supposed to go in case we needed to. I have a concealed carry and I carry all the time except when I'm in the Capitol, but there's some legislators I'm not sure that should carry in the Capitol, so that's why I don't want them to have a gun.
Okay, thank you, Representative Talley. Okay, well, the next question, and we had several questions dealing with global warming and ways to combat it. So the question was, will you implement legislation fostering work on global warming and ways to combat it, such as renewable energy or sustainable living? Who would like to start with that? Representative Burns, would you like to start with that?
Well, it sounds like a softball question for Trish. So Trish, go ahead and will you start us off on this?
You know, global warming does not have a partisan stint. Come on. Ty. But, you know, I think we do need to be looking forward. I mean, getting off the dependency of oil and gas, diversifying our energy options is good. We have a lot of wind and we have a lot of sun. So especially today, we have a lot of wind. But I think those are things that we need to be looking more into. And going forward, the first thing and utmost thing that we've got to work on is this budget hole. And so working with that first, but then further on, then sure. Yeah, let's look at that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Trish, on that softball toss for you. So, no, again, it's coming. Obviously, we've diversified in Oklahoma, and that's the major thing here. Oil's, tanked. Sometimes we've set our whole budget on $51 a barrel, and so, we're not hurting as bad with the oil going down because we diversified. We are doing wind. We are doing solar. That's happening in Oklahoma big time. It's booming, and you can see it. Go ask Kingfisher County and all those over there, and north of me here in Noble County, and it's the revenue coming in for schools, the revenue for roads, and I mean in rural Oklahoma, we're dying out here to get something, and they're doing it. They're providing it for us, and obviously there's always obstacles in everything we do, but it's happening right now. Diversifying, and you see it. So.
Okay, thank you.
We've
Representative.
Yeah, I'll say something. We've been
Okay.
diversified at our house. We've had solar for our hot water for the past 40 years. And then we have geothermal for our heat and air. And it's dropped our electric prices by $300 a month. So to me, it's just a good idea to diversify, like Ty said. And I think we're doing a great job. Let me tell you a question that's going to come up soon is how do you make electric cars pay their fair share for roads and bridges? How do we do that? Because electric cars are on their way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Senator Duggar, did you want to weigh in on that question?
Okay.
No. There.
Now, there we go. As I began this thing, I indicated that we have green orientation, especially in Oklahoma with the wind that was mentioned. The oil and gas is actually a part of that. All of them need to work together to get the best results for the state of Oklahoma. That said, we also need to work on our technology improvement in the areas of which we bring new business into the state, because we have good utility rates at the present time compared to the rest of the country. We have lots of ability to do those things that are ecologically good for the country, the state of Oklahoma, and at the same time meet with the goal of being able to help our budget program together. I think if you put these things all together, we have an opportunity to develop a lot of the things that would be called the green culture, but yet they fit within true Oklahoma as it moves forward into this next period of economic development that we will see coming as a result of the last few years and the future years to come.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Can I add something?
Of course.
It just seems sad that we try to politicize so many things and put it, Democrats or Republicans. Did you know that the CREC building out here, it is so beautiful. I hope everybody knows where it is. Their whole building is electrified by solar power. And so I think that's really interesting that, we fight about this, but it just makes sense to conserve and get the best for our money.
Oh, that's interesting. Several of your answers have related to questions that we have. So I think I'll segue into that one question, because we've had several about efficiency in buildings. And this person says, efficiency in buildings is important in cutting energy usage and greenhouse gases. Can legislation be written to assure that state-owned buildings have the highest efficiency possible? And go ahead. Would somebody, John, you want to start with that, or
I'll go ahead and jump on it. And again,
okay.
it's there's a lot of efficiencies going in. What would it cost to upgrade everything, which we have? And so we're seeing a lot more handless things. You're seeing upgrades, and I think it's happening in the sense that, hold on a second, I'll be right back.
All I would say is, yes, I don't know what kind of legislation it would take, but anytime you build a new building, you would think that it would be smart to be as efficient as possible, have plenty of, insulation in the ceiling, because that's where you lose 60 to 80% of the heat and cold. So, yeah, maybe we need to look at that. I hadn't thought about that.
Okay. Did you, Representative Burns, did you want to continue or with that? What you finished?
I'm sorry about that. I got kids. Mom's working late, so they're kind of arguing out
I
there.
do understand. Yes.
Again, efficiency, and again, we're upgrading things. The touchless, where the water shuts off, using less, efficient stools that don't flush as much water. That stuff's going in. That's upgrades, and technology gets better, the more we're going to be able to do that. And so we're seeing it happen, with the touchless zones, and it shuts off when you're not there. The lights shut off. I've been in locker rooms at public schools and been in the back room, and the lights go out because nobody's moving, and I can't find the light switch, right? And you're jumping around trying to get lights to come back on because it's all on a timer, So schools are being efficient. I think a lot of people are doing this, and you're seeing more and more as technology grows as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
Gladine, that what they had said on all of this stuff is that if you go down to the Capitol, many of the things that we've been talking about in the last few minutes, automatic faucets, automatic lights, automatic heat and air, you don't set thermostats anymore. They're set with a range from building maintenance and so forth like that. And it's still comfortable, it's still attractive, and it accomplishes a lot for conservation. And so it is a true marketable improvement over what we've had in prior years. And the people of Oklahoma should be very proud of that, because it was put together through guidance with the people of the state of Oklahoma that wanted our state to look forward and look positive. And we're doing that, and it will make a difference in how we're perceived.
That's good to learn. Representative Ranson, do you want to add anything to what's been said?
No, I love hearing what the guys have to say. This is awesome.
Great. Okay. And then the other question that you were really answering, but the person said, for Oklahoma, oil prices are declining. So for Oklahoma to be less dependent on the oil industry, what steps do you pose to diversify? And you were talking about green energy. And did anyone want to add anything else about diversification, diversifying our Oklahoma economy? You all
Well, I
addressed
know
it.
we're working on a lot of things at OSU and across the state on aerospace, engineering and stuff. So we are trying to do that right now.
Right. And we are, the governor has been on a big push to bring companies into Oklahoma. But I think we also need to make sure that we're focusing on our entrepreneurs and our small businesses right here and grow our businesses here. I think we can, especially with the hemp industry starting, that is something that we can grow into. Pardon the pun, but there's a lot of products that can be made from hemp, and I think we have a really great opportunity to do so.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to add to that, diversifying our economy? Those are good things to hear. Okay.
Yeah, I would just say, just reflect back to what we said earlier. I mean, it's happening. Diversification's happening as technology grows as well. And so what's diversifying is, it just depends what direction you want to move it. So I think a lot of things are happening and wheels are in motion. So we're doing it.
Hey, Ty, say something about the trying to get the meat processing stuff in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and so with the 10 Million CARES Act, I'm looking at, I've even tried to get, Big Mac opened up. There's actually a packing house down there at the McAllister prison. And I've been told it's going to take too much money, but again, trying to train people in prison we got $10 million. We're going to need butchers. If we want to grow our processing in the state of Oklahoma, to keep up with our demand, where we'll feed ourselves if we do this right now with this money. And we've $10 million to build our processing is huge. So we got to take advantage of this federal money that was shot down and make the best of it, not just think it's push off of what we've gained at this point. And so again, this is where we get to really move the bar up, and we're seeing it happen as a lot of these processing plants are getting put in motion. So and it correlates with the Oklahoma Certified Beef Program that I'm so proud of, because it's going to promote Oklahoma ranchers, and we're going to be able to feed Oklahomans Oklahoma beef, and we'll know it because it meets what Oklahoma Certified Beef is, which is it's bred, born, raised, and processed here in the state of Oklahoma. We're looking at Lieutenant Governor's going to try and promote it as for marketing for restaurants, to the state marketing for tourism, to bring dollars in there. We're the first state to do this. Other states are calling us, want to know, hey, how did you guys get this going? It's so simple. It was just a definition to protect and promote Oklahoma certified or Oklahoma ranchers. And if you haven't checked it out, you need to check it out. We just created the Oklahoma Certified Beef Association, which is a group that's going to be a platform where you can go out. And I got put on that board. I had our first meeting today with down at AFR with Scott Blueball and the president of the co-op down there. And so, again, super exciting. If you haven't seen it, type it in. It's going to come up, AFR. I think we're going to promote Oklahoma beef, and Oklahomans will be eating Oklahoma beef. Hopefully in the next 5 years, I think it's going to be everywhere. So really excited about it.
Thank you, Representative Burns. We had several questions about COVID-19 and masks mandates. And the question is, what safeguards would you legislate for the protection of Oklahoma citizens from COVID-19 virus and treatment of those who have contracted the virus? Anyone want to?
It's not necessarily a legislative fix. It is an emergency declaration. And I think the idea that, if we want to go back to in-person school statewide, we need to make sure that we are stopping the spread statewide. And right now, our 7-day rolling average here in Stillwater is 110 now, I think it is, cases, and 50. Anything above 50 is red. We've got to get that down, and statewide we've got to get that down. And I've been very vocal about the governor issuing a statewide mask mandate. He is very much against it, and I understand that, but there are things that we can do where the health and safety of our fellow citizens are at stake, and rather than personal liberties, be thinking about what is the common good here and how can we help one another.
Okay, thank you.
We've got to get the teacher shots. To me, right off the bat, we want to get kids back in school. We've got to get teacher shots. And I've heard it's going to be at least 2 more weeks before they get in. And how can you go back to school if most of your teachers are older and they can't afford to be sick? And the other thing is, we don't have substitutes in most places, not very many. So
right, it's much bigger than just students or parents. It's the outer community, it's the teachers and so forth. And that's what's so hard with this. And I agree, John. I think 2 weeks is being very generous. I think it's going to be at least another month before we can get the teachers vaccinated. because of just supply issues. I mean, our demand for our 65 and older community is way outweighing the supply of vaccination doses that we have right now. And so we've got to make sure that we're getting as many people vaccinated as possible, and hoping that we can do more with the health department and getting pods getting put up in different businesses and so forth, just to kind of get more people vaccinated at one time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Representative Talley and Ranson. And but Burns or Senator Doug, do you want to add?
Sure, I'll get into this.
Okay.
I think that a lot of the stuff that's going on and so forth are dependent on us to do the things that we view as individuals to do as much safety orientation as possible. Um, uh, the mask mandate, I think you look at the statistics and you make a decision for yourself whether or not that works for most people. Myself personally, I think if there's a possibility that it's going to improve and be helpful, if that's available, that's something that I'll want to do. And I think a lot of people have to make that decision for themselves, and they're doing that. But at the same time, Trish mentioned the biggest problem faced with, we have three, basically, well, two at the moment. We have Pfizer and we have Pfizer and we have Moderna vaccinations, both of which the supply for them coming into Oklahoma is not sufficient to cover all the people. You can make the appointment and so forth, but that doesn't necessarily, until you reach the stage of the registration of the appointment, that they specify when you can have a shot and that one would be available on a secondary part. I read and saw this afternoon that Johnson & Johnson has a one-shot version coming out that is going to go through the same process as Moderna and the Pfizer deal. Hopefully that will add some availability of vaccines to the people of Oklahoma. And it's not, as one doctor told someone when asked, which one should I take? The question becomes, which one is available? And all three work, and all three work at the 95%. That's something that we need to be involved with as far as providing as much support as possible. So I hope that we can come in front of the people of Stillwater and Payne County within this coming year and say the chain is broken, but we do that by everybody working together for them as well as possible. And I realize there's issues regarding the jobs and so forth. That has to be carefully monitored and determine what works and follow it up. This is serious stuff, folks. We know that from the standpoint of the number of deaths we've had. And it is one of those things that we work together. And that I've always been proud of Stillwater from the standpoint that it's technologically, and Stillwater and the rest of Payne County, but it understands the technical and responsibilities of the individual and follows up. And I believe that we can do that in Stillwater and make a difference here. And I believe that by making a difference here, we will show how to make a difference throughout this state. That's my hope. That's what I hope that we're able to do. And I think that's one of the things that it takes everybody working together to accomplish it.
Okay, thank you, Senator Duggar.
Yeah,
Representative Burns.
I'll go ahead if that's fine. So, and the biggest thing is, if it's coming to an end, we got the vaccination here. We're moving along. We're taking precautions. Some people want to be a little stricter. Some people want a little more lax rules on it, how they open things up. I think the governor's under immense scrutiny, and I think at this point under the situation, I'm not going to say the best things are being done, but it's all being put into a bubble and thrown around 1,000 different ways to figure out what's best for everybody, the state, citizens. That goes into every thought that goes on at the Capitol. And I believe that, and I know that I've been part of those conversations. We're not just out here making rash, we just think we're going to do this. There's a lot of careful planning and strategic things that go into anything that we roll out, because that is our jobs for the citizens of Oklahoma. So you got to trust that we are doing these things. It is happening. If you don't believe it, come talk to us, come see us. You can watch the process unfold. So again, things are happening. Again, we're having two radical sides being heard more than anything. And we're all stuck in the middle here somewhere that are doing everything we can to protect, promote, and keep moving forward. And I think once we come together, we'll reel it in. And it's not new. This is not like the biggest scare, I think, from the whole point was we're finding out so much about this virus. And we're knowing, so the don't know is out the window. You know, we know this, what's going to happen and what's happening. And viruses, we know, mutate. We know it's going to happen. Are we going to run scared forever? You look at the very creation of, the Columbian Exchange, how many, people died from disease in creating North America, millions. And so this is nothing new to mankind. We've been through this stuff. We keep going forward, and that's why we're the most dominant animal in the world. And sometimes our own worst enemy, right? So things are happening. So you got to believe in it. And if you don't believe in the process, come talk to us.
Okay, thank you, Representative Burns. This is an education question, and I know we're getting close to running out of time, but I want to ask a couple more questions. One deals with, according to the audit, there was misappropriation of EPIC's charter school funds. What legislation do you suggest to prevent this from occurring in both public and private schools?
Yeah, I'll jump on this first if you don't mind. Again, being an ex-educator, and I understand this, and I don't follow it like I want to because I worry more about other things, but it's definitely in my wheelhouse of everything I always pay attention to. So education, I'm obviously been in contact with Auditor Byrd and applaud her office for what they did, and Representative Dills, that House Bill 1395, which you go way back at the very beginning, I did a speech, I did a YouTube update on a legislative update at the Capitol, and I talked about that House Bill 1395, how it was going to open the door to transparency on these virtual schools, and it did. And so the audit's coming out, more things are coming out. At the end of the day, my superintendent contacted me a couple days ago, and we're proposing some of the scale for virtual compared to a weighted system. And I know some of my colleagues, Sheila Dills, Rhonda Baker, and again, that stuff's talked about all the time. Like we're trying to do the best thing, and it takes a while to get things going. So the wheels are in motion. It just takes time to do things. I think with the EPIC, it blew the doors off a lot of things that a lot of people knew, and now we'll see what happens with that. So, but again, the 163 million, I think, was that it, Trish, that EPIC got appropriated? This, I can't remember, but they
midterm.
Yeah.
310 million.
Okay, and so and it comes out, and again, there's 60,000 students there. We can't turn our backs on the students at this point because again, this is a long litigated process. If they're doing something wrong, it's going to be found out, but that stuff takes time. And so every rock's being, I'm telling you, I applaud Auditor Byrd and what her office has done and the courage that it took to do this audit. I promise you, you don't even know, she needs to be in your prayers because she is going through hard times because of some of the pressure that she gets from this. We're trying to do the best thing we can at the state level, and I'm proud of her, and I'll back her every day of the week.
I know we're running out of time. I think the question was, what legislation do you suggest? And I don't know whether anyone would like to add some legislation is being proposed or would be proposed. Or that.
Well, and that was in the long statement there.
Okay.
Yeah, Representative Dills, my superintendent Haken, is a formal proposal of what he thinks the weighted scale should be for the virtual versus brick and mortar and the things that we know we need to do. And so he's going to present that and to them. So that's Representative Dills, and our education department is all over it. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. There's one last question that deals with older adults, and I know we've been talking about COVID, and of course there's concern about nursing homes and so forth. This question was, will you endorse increased support for services to allow older Oklahomans who wish to age in place remain in their homes? I'm assuming a bill is going to be submitted on that, and I guess you could just, uh, anyone want to respond to that?
I guess I'm not
I
aware
don't
of
understand.
there's a push to move folks out of their home.
Well, there are people who want to age in place, and so there is legislation that would, I suppose, help fund that in some way.
Okay, I'm not aware of that, but I am interested to learn more.
Okay, okay. Well, I said I would ask the question, so you can be looking for a bill. Okay. Well, this has been wonderful, and if my listeners, if your question didn't get asked, you can send it to ask the library to forward it to the legislators, and they will respond to those questions, because we had a lot of good questions, and I thank you for all for submitting your questions. And I want to thank Representative Burns and Ranson and Talley and Senator Duggar for being with us this evening. And I want to thank the league members, Kay Murphy and Emily State, with her technical assistance. So this concludes Meet Your Legislators Forum, and thank you and good night.